Welcome to Channel 24. Most Americans lack confidence in President Donald Trump's ability to make wise decisions about the Russian war in Ukraine. According to a Pew Research Center, nearly 60% of respondents said they were not too confident or not at all confident that Trump could take a wise decision in what is Europe's bloodiest conflict since the Second World War. Democrats expressed far less trust in Trump's handling of the war than Republicans, but the Republican numbers have also slipped. Americans are evenly split over whether the United States has an obligation to help Ukraine defend itself, with Democrats far more likely than Republicans to support military and financial assistance. Fewer Americans now believe Trump is too supportive of Russia than in March, a shift that comes after the president's recent, more critical tone towards Moscow. In recent weeks, Trump has accused Russia of intensifying the war and warned Putin of very severe consequences if no steps are taken. Demonstrators in Anchorage, Alaska, have protested against U.S. President Donald Trump meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin without the presence of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Hours before the summit, activists staged a pro-Ukraine rally, waving flags and holding banners. They voiced concern that Ukraine's interests would not be represented at the high-profile talks.
I think they are both malignant narcissists who have only their best interests at heart. If they truly wanted to talk about what was going on in Ukraine and how to end the war, they would have included President Zelensky.
Trump has said there is a 25% chance the summit will fail, but suggested that if it succeeds, he could invite President Zelensky for a three-way meeting in Alaska. Some protesters remain skeptical about the talks, calling them more about image than substance.
I think it's about Trump probably sizing up Putin, Putin looking strong because Trump has invited him alone. No, I think it's all for show and it won't lead to anything good.
According to Bloomberg, U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian dictator Putin have a different approach in their summit in Alaska with sharply different definitions of success. For Trump, securing any form of a ceasefire in Ukraine is a key objective. For Putin, simply meeting the U.S. president on American soil without making any concessions on the war would already count as a victory. The talks are happening at Elmendorf-Richardson military base, a venue seen as highly symbolic for the Kremlin leader. This imbalance, analysts say, carries both risks and opportunities for Trump, who has repeatedly claimed he's the only one who can end the war. Putin, whose forces are super slowly advancing in Ukraine, still has little incentive to halt the fighting, but does not want to lose his long-standing relationship with Trump. Since launching the largest European war in 80 years, Putin has been treated as an international pariah. The Alaska summit offers him a chance to break that isolation. But the format, involving only the US and Russian presidents, marks a clear departure from former President Joe Biden's nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine policy, which guaranteed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky a seat at the table. Trump has tried to reassure Zelensky, saying the meeting is meant to clarify positions and has already floated plans for a second summit that could include Ukraine and European leaders. He suggested a follow-up meeting might even be more productive than the first. The Kremlin, anticipating such a step, has already invited Trump to visit Russia. Putin praises North Korean troops, thanks Kim Jong Un for supporting Ukraine war. Russian dictator has called North Korean soldiers' participation in the war heroic, according to a letter he sent to North Korean leader Kim Jong Un. The letter marked the anniversary of Korea's liberation from Japanese rule and recalled the joint fighting by Soviet and North Korean forces decades ago. Putin wrote that the bonds of combat friendship, goodwill and mutual assistance forged in the days of war many years ago remain strong and reliable even today, adding that this was fully proven by the heroic participation of DPRK soldiers in liberating the Kursk region. And let me remind you, the first North Korean soldiers were captured by Ukrainian forces in early January this year, confirming Pyongyang's direct involvement in Russia's war against Ukraine. According to Ukrainian, US, and South Korean sources, at least 11,000 North Korean troops, including members of elite units, have been sent to fight alongside Russian forces. Battlefield evidence shows they are heavily indoctrinated and ordered to avoid capture at any cost, even by taking their own lives. North Korea's military aid to Moscow began with artillery shells and later expanded to ballistic missiles. Now, with Russia facing severe manpower shortages and reluctant to launch another wave of mobilization, North Korean soldiers are helping to fill this gap. For Kim Jong Un, this deployment is an opportunity to give his army, one of the largest in the world, by the way, valuable combat experience in what analysts call the most technologically advanced battlefield in history. It allows Pyongyang to test its weapons, gain access to Russian military technology, and strengthen ties with Moscow despite UN sanctions. US officials warn the experience could make North Korea more capable of waging war against its neighbors, particularly South Korea. According to Western analysts, Russia is paying North Korea around $2,000 per soldier per month, along with transfers of military technology and other forms of assistance that help North Korea evade UN sanctions. Iron Rhine Railway revival aid as NATO allies boost mobility against Russia. Belgium, the Netherlands, and Germany are in talks to revive the historic Iron Rhine Railway, a 19th-century line linking the Belgian port of Antwerp to Germany's Ruhr industrial region in a bid to strengthen military mobility in response to the threat from Russia. The route played a key role for Allied forces during and after the Second World War, but has been largely unused for decades, with sections abandoned since 1991. EU officials say reopening the line could ease capacity problems on other rail corridors at a time when the bloc is prioritizing the rapid movement of troops and equipment. So NATO allies are not just arming up, they are rebuilding the logistics to move troops and equipment fast in case of direct confrontation with Russia. The revival of the Iron Rhine is part of that strategy. Thank you for watching us, and for more content, please subscribe.